Chosen one. Pause for a moment. Heaven has pressed pause on everything around you, every noise, every distraction, because something sacred is being whispered into your spirit right now. You've been wondering why storms that should have broken you somehow only brushed past you. Why battles that buried others only built you. The truth is not mystery, it's mercy. Heaven has kept its eye on you. People around you see it. They may not say it out loud, but they notice how life keeps throwing fire at you. And somehow you walk through it, untouched. They whisper, how are they still standing? Why do they always land on their feet? They see your pain, but can't explain your peace. What they call coincidence is covenant. What they call luck is covering. There's a hand over your life that never sleeps. You've been rescued in ways you don't even realize. The car that almost hit you. The opportunity that closed before it could trap you. The friendship that ended before it could drain your purpose, all of it. Divine interception. Heaven steps in where your strength runs out. Let me tell you about one of the chosen ones. A young man named Elior. He was overlooked. Quiet. The kind people underestimate. One night, his small apartment caught fire. Everything burned: his books, his work, his memories. Yet, somehow, when the smoke cleared, his old worn-out Bible was untouched, lying open on the floor. The page it rested on spoke of deliverance. That night, he understood. What burned was only what he didn't need. The hand of protection had made the fire selective. You, too, have walked through flames that spared the essence of who you are. It was declared in the book of Psalms, chapter 91, verse 7, 1,000 may fall at your side, 10,000 at your right hand, but it will not come near you. These aren't distant words. They are a living wall around you. You've seen it already. Things that destroyed others couldn't reach you. You are wrapped in divine insurance. The kind no policy on earth could ever offer. You carry something sacred, like glass that can't be shattered. Even when you break beautifully. There's a light inside your cracks that blinds darkness itself. That's why your enemies can't understand why their gossip fails, why their traps collapse. They don't know you're not walking alone. Imagine a candle in the middle of a storm. The wind howls. The rain pours. Yet the flame refuses to die. That's you. Your endurance isn't human, it's holy. Every time you rise again, the heavens celebrate and hell trembles. Maybe lately you've felt unseen, forgotten, or delayed. But God hides his treasures before he reveals them. The hiding place is not a prison, it's a preparation room. When the time comes, he will reveal you, and every question about you will answer itself. You've cried in secret. You've wondered if anyone noticed how hard it's been, but heaven did. Each tear became a seed. Each night, a refining fire. And now you are stronger, wiser, glowing in ways that words can't define. Chosen one. Remember this: what's meant for you cannot miss you. And what misses you was never meant for you. Protection is not always about what God saves you from. It's also about what he never lets you touch. So let them talk. Let them question. You don't owe explanations for divine strategy. Some people will never understand your peace because they've never met your protector. Heaven has kept record of every battle you survived. The unseen army assigned to your life hasn't lost one fight. You may not see them, but they are stationed around your mind, your home, your path. You walk with invisible honor guards. And right now, as you hear this, your spirit already knows this isn't motivation, it's confirmation. The eye of the Almighty has been on you since before you knew His name. That's why the accidents missed, the betrayals failed, the heartbreaks healed, because purpose was always greater than pain. If this word reaches your soul, take a small act of faith. Like this message, share it so another warrior remembers they are not alone. And in the comments, just type 777, a silent declaration that you know you are divinely covered. And if you haven't yet, subscribe to stay aligned with words that remind you who you are. Protected, appointed, unbreakable. The world may not understand it, but heaven already decided nothing will touch you unless it first passes through grace. You are not here by chance. You are here because heaven's eye is upon you, and it never blinks. You've felt it before, the strange calm that comes when chaos tries to corner you. You should have panicked, but peace stood taller. That's not luck. It's the invisible shield surrounding your life. The kind of protection that doesn't announce itself with noise, but proves itself in silence. This is the shield no one sees. It's the quiet miracle, the job that didn't hire you because God knew the environment would poison your spirit. The relationship that fell apart right before it could destroy your identity. The delay that saved you from destruction disguised as opportunity. You thought rejection was failure, but it was actually redirection under divine armor. Every chosen one carries this hidden shield. It doesn't flash or glitter, yet it turns away every dart of envy and darkness. Some call it good fortune, but that's a word the faithless use for what the faithful call protection. When you walk in divine alignment, even accidents get edited out of your story. There was once a woman named Selah who learned this truth the hard way. She was driving home late at night, rain flooding the streets, vision blurred by tears from a day that had gone wrong. She stopped at a red light. Seconds later, a truck sped through the crossing she should have entered. If she had moved on time, she would not have lived to tell it. Her tears, her pause, what looked like weakness were actually divine delay. Protection wearing the face of interruption. That's how the shield works. It doesn't always feel like rescue. Sometimes it feels like ruin. It might close doors you prayed would open, remove people you thought were loyal, reroute paths you thought were perfect. But afterward, you look back and realize the closing was compassion. The loss was actually love in disguise. Every chosen one must learn this sacred paradox. Protection and pain often arrive in the same package. When heaven defends you, it doesn't always make sense to earth. But the unseen shield moves faster than any weapon formed against you. The ancient text of Proverbs, chapter 2, verse 8, tells us, "For he guards the course of the just and protects the way of his faithful ones." That means even your steps are monitored, every route measured. The wrong turn you didn't take, the call you didn't answer, grace was guiding you. Sometimes God protects you from what you want because it's not yet ready for you, or you're not ready for it. His shield is also his timing. What looks like delay is often him keeping danger out of sync with your arrival. He knows when roads are safe and when hearts are not. Look back over your life for a moment. Remember the things you wanted so badly that slipped through your hands, the prayers you thought went unanswered, Now, you see, they were answered, just differently. The shield was doing its quiet work. There's something holy about being protected without proof, when no one sees how many storms almost touched you. Only heaven and your spirit know the count. And yet, that's what makes faith glow. You don't need evidence when you live inside the evidence of grace itself. Sometimes, you'll feel the weight of battles you didn't even fight. That's because your angels fought them before they reached you. Heaven has intercepted more than you can imagine. While you slept, your name was spoken in divine chambers, and mercy was dispatched before morning. And when you walk into a room and peace follows, it's because the shield arrived first. It clears the air before you even speak. People sense it, they can't name it, but they feel safer. Calmer. Softer when you're near. The unseen becomes visible through your presence. You don't have to defend yourself. Chosen one. That's the beauty of the shield. It absorbs every attack and turns every arrow into a testimony. You are covered. Not because of what you've done, but because of who sent you. So when the next storm comes, and it will stand still, don't rush to fight. Don't scramble to fix. Just know, the unseen shield is already raised. Every blow meant for you will hit grace instead. Protection doesn't always shout. Sometimes it whispers, wait. Sometimes it pauses your steps. Sometimes it breaks what was built on false foundations. But always, it keeps you whole. And when others wonder why nothing seems to break you completely, they'll never guess it's because heaven keeps taking the hit before it reaches your heart. You are covered in light. No darkness can pierce. That's the mystery, the beauty, the truth. The shield no one sees has never failed you, and it never will. You've seen it, haven't you? The strange pattern that follows you, plans carefully crafted against you, suddenly collapse without warning. People scheme, yet their schemes dissolve. Words meant to wound, you lose their weight in midair. It's almost as if the universe itself bends to defend you. But this isn't coincidence, this is covenant in motion. When heaven marks you, no plot can mature. Some notice it, but can't name it. They say you're lucky. They don't understand that the protection you carry is divine legislation. Before any battle touches you, a decree has already gone out. This one is covered. Every plot that rises against you runs into that invisible boundary. That's why confusion always finds your enemies first. There was once a woman named Lyra, quiet yet radiant. Her co-workers mocked her kindness, twisted her words, and schemed to push her out of her position. They gathered, planned, even had paperwork ready. But the night before the final meeting, the company's servers crashed, erasing every false report they had written. The next morning, the board decided to cancel all ongoing reviews and instead offered Lyra a leadership role. The ones who mocked her had to report to her. What they planned as a snare became her stepping stone. That's what divine protection does. It doesn't just block the attack, it turns it into promotion. God loves poetic justice. He lets them plan just enough to reveal his power when their plans implode. As written in the book of Job, chapter 5, verse 12, he frustrates the devices of the crafty, so that their hands cannot carry out their plans. End of clap. It's happening for you too. That meeting where they were supposed to destroy your reputation will dissolve. The conversation that began with your name in dishonor will end with your name in respect. You won't need to defend yourself. Truth will arrive before you do. You've been wondering why chaos keeps missing you by inches. It's not random. Heaven's timing is so precise that even your pauses are strategic. The traffic jam that annoyed you last week may have saved your life. The person who ghosted you might have been an anchor in disguise. Divine protection often hides behind inconvenience. You don't always see it, but your spirit knows when it's being shielded. That uneasy feeling when something seems off, that's discernment, not paranoia. The whisper that says, "Don't go," or "Wait a moment," is the voice of protection disguised as intuition. The Holy Spirit moves subtly, yet powerfully, editing your story in real time. And when attacks seem unavoidable, the atmosphere changes on your behalf. Heaven sends confusion into the enemy's camp. Words turn against their speakers. Lies lose direction. It's like a mirror shattering before their reflection can form. You carry something holy that cannot be hexed or harmed. That's why gossip turns to silence and betrayal becomes exposure. Darkness cannot handle divine encryption. You are sealed with a code no curse can crack. If you only knew how many unseen battles have been fought in your name, you'd never doubt again. While you sleep, heaven stands watch. Angels hold the line, intercepting spiritual artillery long before it reaches your heart. And still, you rise every morning, unaware that victory has already been written overnight. That's why you often wake up with peace you didn't earn, because grace fought while you rested. So, when people look confused at how you keep surviving, let them wonder. You don't owe explanations. Protection is your inheritance, not your performance. Now, if this truth echoes in your spirit, anchor it in words. Type Grace 1 in the comments. Simple, but mighty, because that phrase is more than affirmation. It's a reminder that every failed plot, every shattered plan, every unseen rescue all point to one truth. Grace always wins. And when grace wins, nothing else matters. When grace wins, the atmosphere changes around you. Doors that resisted suddenly open. Hearts that were closed begin to soften. Every no turns into a not yet, rewritten by divine patience. Grace wins because mercy outruns judgment. It's not about deserving, it's about destiny. Heaven steps in to rewrite endings that life tried to conclude too soon. Proving purpose always survives pressure. Grace wins when silence becomes your defense. You stop explaining yourself and let results speak. God vindicates you publicly after seasons of quiet obedience, and every tongue that doubted must bow to truth. Grace wins because love never loses. Even when hatred rises, forgiveness disarms it. You walk away lighter, freer, radiant, because choosing peace is the loudest victory of all. You carry something that cannot be bought or borrowed, the invisible signature of heaven. It is not written on your skin, but upon your spirit. You carry heaven's mark. It's why rooms feel different when you walk in. It's why people notice you, even when you say nothing. They can't explain it, but they sense it. Something about you feels ancient, royal, set apart. The mark isn't a symbol the world can see. It's a vibration the spirit realm recognizes. When darkness looks at you, it hesitates. When destruction searches for a place to land, it skips over your name. You are known in heavenly places, not by what you've done, but by what was declared over you. There's a weight of recognition that follows those who are chosen. Sometimes it feels heavy, being misunderstood, feeling isolated, sensing things before they happen. But that's part of the cost of carrying divine identity. You are not ordinary, and ordinary spaces cannot hold you comfortably. You might have wondered why certain people drift away the closer you get to your purpose. It's not rejection, it's revelation. The mark reveals what cannot remain around you. Light always exposes motives. The moment your spirit begins to shine brighter, anything that thrives in shadow starts to flee. A man named Darius once shared his story. He never sought attention, but everywhere he went, people seemed drawn to him. Some admired him, some resented him, and he didn't understand why. Then one night, he dreamed of standing on a mountain with a flame hovering over his heart. A voice said, "You are marked." The next day, he received an unexpected message, an opportunity that changed his life's direction. The dream had been a confirmation. What God places on your life becomes visible when the time comes. The apostle reminds us in his letter to the Corinthians, 2nd book, chapter 1, verse 22, "He has set his seal of ownership on us and put his spirit in our hearts as a deposit, guaranteeing what is to come." In that seal is not decoration, it's authorization. It gives you access to favor that others can't replicate. When you step into assignments that seem too large, grace steps with you. When you speak words meant to heal, heaven echoes them. That's why even your silence has power. It carries divine backing. Sometimes the mark attracts curiosity. People may project assumptions about you. Some feel drawn to your peace, but can't understand the source. Others feel discomfort, as if your light holds up a mirror to their own shadows. Don't take it personally. You are simply walking proof that the supernatural is real. Your presence disrupts spiritual equilibrium. Wherever you go, hidden things rise to the surface. That's why you may notice tension in certain places. Your spirit exposes what others hide. The mark on your life doesn't just protect you, it activates discernment in you. You can sense danger before it arrives, deceit before it speaks, and destiny even in silence. And yet, this mark isn't a badge of superiority, it's an assignment. Those who carry it are chosen not just to survive, but to serve. You've been preserved, so others can find their way through your story. The protection around you exists, so that purpose within you can be fulfilled. Imagine yourself as a lantern in a dark valley. You were never meant to hide under comfort. You were made to guide others home. The glow is divine, but the lamp is human. You'll feel fragile sometimes, but the flame will not go out. That's what it means to be marked. You are ordinary clay carrying extraordinary fire. Heaven trusts you with what it rarely gives freely, responsibility for light. And though it feels heavy at times, it's also holy. So, when people stare, don't shrink. When questions rise about your peace, don't apologize for it. When your calm confuses chaos, know that the mark is doing its work. Every storm that fails to break you, every attack that fades mid-air, is proof that your name is not written in sand, it's engraved in spirit. You are sealed for purpose, not for performance. You are not merely surviving this life. You are walking evidence that heaven invests in what it loves. And even now, as you breathe, that unseen mark glows stronger, calling you higher, guiding you deeper. reminding you who you truly are. Every season you endure only polishes that mark brighter. What once felt like pain now gleams as proof you were never forgotten, only refined for glory. The mark speaks silently but powerfully. It tells darkness, "Not this one." It tells destiny, "Now." And heaven nods in agreement. Your time has truly begun. You rarely hear what they say behind closed doors, but the truth travels through the air. You are the conversation when you're not in the room. People can't stop wondering how you keep shining after storms, why nothing seems to break you, why you walk with such peace when chaos surrounds everyone else. This is the conversation you're not in. They study your calm like a mystery. They whisper, "There's something about them," but they can't explain it. They sense that you have something. They've lost a quiet confidence, a steady light that doesn't flicker even when life's winds blow hard. And they're right. You have it because heaven gave it. When you walk through the world carrying divine protection, people can feel it without understanding it. It's like sitting beside a fireplace. They may not see the source of the flame, but they feel its warmth. That's you. You are that warmth in a cold generation. The gentle reminder that faith still burns bright. But this kind of peace doesn't come without a price. It came through seasons where you cried quietly, wondering if God still saw you. It came from learning how to smile when you didn't have strength. It came from trusting that invisible protection, even when your heart felt uncovered. And because you endured, that peace now radiates through you. Someone once said, "Faith is not built in comfort, it's built in collision." You've collided with heartbreak, betrayal, loss, and delay, but none of it was wasted. Every trial became a tool, carving you into a vessel of compassion. That's why others feel seen when you speak. You carry empathy, not theory. In the book of Romans, chapter 8, verse 31, we read, "If God is for us, who can be against us?" Those words echo through your life story. They explain what others can't. It's not that you have fewer problems, it's that your problems have less power. Every obstacle bows to the invisible presence that walks beside you. People notice. They sense that something greater guards you. They might ask how you manage to stay calm in times of crisis, or why you always seem to land on your feet. You smile, not out of pride, but out of understanding. It's not you doing the balancing. It's grace. Your peace confuses the fearful. Your endurance confronts the cynical. And your faith reminds the hopeless that light still lives. Without realizing it, you become a mirror through which others glimpse heaven's reflection. That's why stories like yours matter. They remind the world that good still exists, that miracles still move quietly through ordinary people. And sometimes, just sharing that light through a story, a word, a gesture changes more hearts than you'll ever know. So when you like, share, or subscribe to keep this message flowing, it isn't about numbers or fame. It's like passing a torch through the darkness, each spark finding another soul lost in the storm. Every small click becomes a quiet act of rescue. And if, one day, your heart feels stirred to donate, think of it not as payment, but as pouring oil into the lamp that lights countless others. It's never a demand, only an invitation to let your gratitude move. When love gives, it multiplies. When you water what feeds your spirit, you help gardens of hope bloom in places you'll never see. You'll know if it's right your heart will whisper it. Not pressure it. No compulsion. No guilt. Just the joy of being part of something sacred. Of adding your drop of light into the river of faith flowing across the world. This space, these words exist to remind you of your worth, your calling, and your covering, and your smallest act alike. A share, a whispered prayer, a seed of donation helps this current of light reach one more soul sitting in their midnight. Because every time light meets generosity, heaven smiles. You are proof that divine peace exists. You are the quiet miracle that keeps others believing. And as long as light flows through you, no darkness will ever prevail. Every act of giving, no matter how small, becomes a heartbeat in this divine rhythm. When love flows freely, heaven records it not in numbers, but in the language of light. What you release returns as peace. Seeds of kindness never vanish. They travel unseen, taking root in hearts that once knew only drought, and bloom when least expected. You are not supporting words, you're sustaining wonder. You're keeping alive the flame that reminds the weary, hope still breathes, and light still wins. Even in the darkest hour, there are seasons when you feel surrounded by fire. The air thickens, pressure builds, and everything familiar begins to melt away. It feels like punishment, but it's not. It's purification. What others call disaster, heaven calls refining. This is the fire that does not burn you. You've walked through moments that should have consumed you, betrayal that cut too deep, loss that hollowed your heart, loneliness that felt endless. Yet somehow, you're still standing, stronger, wiser, softer, but sharper at the same time. That's the paradox of divine fire. It never destroys what's real, it only removes what isn't. There was a woman named Ria who learned this truth painfully. Everything she depended on was stripped away in one season: job, relationship, and home. For months, she felt like a candle in the wind, flickering on the edge of darkness. But one night, while sitting alone in silence, she felt something shift. Not outside, but within. She realized she hadn't lost herself. She had found her foundation. When she looked back later, she saw that what was burned away was never meant to stay. That's what happens when you are chosen. The fire tests you, but it also reveals you. While others see destruction, heaven sees transformation. What breaks others builds you, because divine heat activates divine strength. We are reminded through the writings of the prophet Isaiah, chapter 43, verse 2, "When you walk through the fire, you shall not be burned. The flames shall not set you ablaze." No, that's not poetic language, it's covenant, promise. Flames may rise, but they can't own you. They can only refine what carries eternity within it. You are made of something that cannot melt. When you walk through fire, don't waste time begging to escape it. Ask instead, what is this trying to reveal? Every furnace has a purpose. Every blaze exposes what's truly inside you. Gold doesn't argue with heat, it shines because of it. You've probably noticed that during your hardest seasons, distractions disappear. The noise of life quiets. The fire strips away excess until only truth remains. You stop pretending. You stop people-pleasing. You stop chasing what never cared. Fire brings clarity. And once clarity comes, freedom follows. You begin to see what and who was keeping you stuck. You realize that pain didn't arrive to punish you, it arrived to purify your path. The fire removes counterfeit comforts, so you can finally walk in authentic peace. Even now, if you're in that heat, don't panic. Flames that surround you today will soon become light for your tomorrow. God never wastes a trial. He's using this very moment to reveal the unbreakable version of you, the one fear cannot reach. Think of yourself as glass in a craftsman's furnace. The fire doesn't destroy the glass, it shapes it into clarity. What once was fragile becomes radiant, transparent, unshockable. That's the secret of the chosen. You're not surviving fire, you're being sculpted by it. And later, when people see your glow, they won't realize it came from burning seasons. They'll see only the brilliance, not the process. That's okay. Heaven knows the price of your glow. When the time is right, every scar will become a window. Through it, others will see God's faithfulness shining through your story. The fire that threatened you will end up preaching your testimony. So don't curse the heat. Don't fear the flames. Trust the process that forges kings and queens from ordinary clay. You're not losing, you're being tempered. Heaven doesn't use gentle weather to make warriors. It uses fire that never fails. And when you emerge, you'll find yourself walking differently, not with pride, but with peace. The same flames that once frightened you will now flicker behind you as proof that you were never alone inside them. Now, take a breath. Feel this truth settle in your soul. If you're still here, it means the fire has finished its work. You've been purified, not punished. You are radiant because you remained. And if this message reaches you right where the flames still burn, make your declaration below. Type 999 inches, the comments. That number isn't random. It represents completion and rebirth, the end of one cycle and the divine beginning of another. When you write 999, you're declaring, the old has passed through fire, and the new me is rising from the ashes. End of 4. Let it be your sign, your symbol, your quiet agreement with heaven that the fire didn't destroy you, it defined you. You are not ashes. You are the proof that God still brings beauty out of burning. Every spark that once scared you now becomes your crown. You wear the glow of survival like armor, shining proof that divine fire never destroys. It only reveals destiny. There is a certain stillness that follows storms, a quiet unlike any other. It is not the silence of absence, but of assurance. After everything has been shaken, only what's real remains. That's where you stand now. You have entered the mystery of your stillness. This peace you carry isn't ordinary. It's not the kind that comes from having everything under control. It's the kind that stays even when nothing makes sense. It's the kind that doesn't depend on answers, only on trust. That's divine peace, an anchor tied not to circumstance, but to faith. You've learned that stillness isn't weakness, it's strategy. While the world rushes, you wait. While others react, you rest. And in that waiting, God moves unseen. The battle quiets, not because it ended, but because heaven already decided its outcome. It was once said that the loudest faith is sometimes the one that doesn't speak at all. Silence can be warfare when your peace becomes the protest. Every time you refuse to panic, you declare, I trust the one who holds what I cannot see. There was a man named Elias who discovered this truth. He lost nearly everything in a single year. his job, his relationship, and the future he thought he had. At first, he fought to fix it, but the harder he tried, the heavier life became. One day, exhausted, he simply stopped striving. He sat in his empty apartment, turned off his phone, and whispered, "I surrender." For the first time, he felt a calm so deep it frightened him. That peace didn't come from solutions, it came from letting go of control. Within months, new doors opened, naturally doors he could never have forced open. That's the mystery of stillness. You stop chasing, and blessings start finding you. According to the book of Exodus, chapter 14, verse 14, the Lord will fight for you. You need only to be still. Stillness is not inaction, it's divine coordination. While you seem to pause, heaven rearranges. Angels realign paths, soften hearts, and open ways that effort alone could never unlock. This kind of peace is not easy to protect. The world will try to pull you back into noise, to convince you that movement equals meaning. But you've learned otherwise. You've discovered that clarity often arrives in silence. In your stillness, you begin to hear whispers that busyness drowns out, soft reminders of direction, gentle nudges of truth. God doesn't shout over chaos. He speaks into calm hearts. That's why the enemy always tries to make you restless. If he can't defeat you through attack, he'll try to distract you through anxiety. But you are wiser now. You've learned to recognize false urgency. You know the difference between movement led by fear and motion led by faith. You've stopped letting the clock control your calling. And when people misread your calm as indifference, let them. They don't understand that peace is your weapon. Your composure confuses the enemy. Your silence is louder than shouting, because in your stillness, heaven speaks. There's a sacred rhythm to your patience. You've stopped running to prove, explaining to defend, or forcing what's not aligned. Stillness has become your sanctuary, a hidden altar where strength quietly rebuilds. Imagine the ocean after a storm. The waves soften, but underneath, the current is stronger than ever. That's you, calm on the surface, powerful beneath. Your peace is not emptiness, it's depth. And that depth is what draws divine revelation. God can trust still souls with secrets. You begin to sense things before they unfold. You discern direction before others see signs. That's not coincidence. It's sensitivity, born from stillness. Many chase answers, few learn to wait for revelation. You, however, have chosen the wiser way. The still one hears heaven first. You no longer need constant noise to feel alive. Silence, once uncomfortable, has become your closest companion. It's in those quiet spaces that you realize you're never truly alone. God is always there, whispering between heartbeats. So when the next wave of life rises, you won't rush or run. You'll remember, peace is not the absence of storms, but the presence of purpose. You'll stand, breathe, and let the wind pass through you. Because you are no longer afraid of stillness, you have mastered it. That calm resting inside you is not idleness, it's divine focus. The world may call it strange, but heaven calls it strength. You are the calm in chaos, the whisper in the whirlwind, the living reminder that sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is simply be still and know. It begins quietly, the feeling of eyes watching you. not always with kindness. You sense it in rooms where smiles don't match intentions, in conversations where admiration hides envy. You've stepped into the glare of jealous eyes. It's not that you seek attention, it's that your presence carries light, and light, by its nature, exposes what hides in shadow. Those who have learned to live in darkness often mistake illumination for intrusion. Your glow unsettles them because it reveals what they've tried to bury. You've felt it, the sudden shift in atmosphere when you enter a space. Words pause, energy tightens, and you can almost feel thoughts pressing against you. But do not shrink. This is not punishment, it's proof. You are walking evidence that divine favor exists. Jealousy is a strange shadow. It follows favor everywhere it goes. Where blessing lands, envy stirs. That's not because you've done something wrong, but because your elevation reminds others of their own dormancy. Your peace exposes their unrest. Your purpose reveals their hesitation. There was a man named Caleb who understood this all too well. He never boasted, never sought the spotlight, but success found him. Every project he touched prospered. Some celebrated him, but a few began to scheme. Subtle comments turned into criticism, support turned into suspicion. One day, Caleb prayed, "Lord, why do blessings bring battles?" And a whisper answered, "Because light attracts both worship and war." That day, he stopped apologizing for shining. He realized that his favor was never meant to be hidden. It was meant to test others' hearts. That's the truth for you. 2. Your favor is not for show. It's a mirror. It reflects the condition of the souls around you. Those who walk in grace will celebrate it. Those who walk in envy will challenge it. But both are part of your calling to reveal. According to what is written in the book of Proverbs, chapter 27, verse 4, "Wrath is cruel and anger is outrageous, but who can stand before envy?" The scripture doesn't exaggerate. Envy corrodes silently. It dresses itself in friendliness, but its heart resists your growth. Yet, here is your power. You don't need to fight jealous eyes. Your light defends itself. Favor cannot be faked, and it cannot be stolen. What God places upon you becomes untouchable. The more others try to dim it, the brighter it burns, because the source of your radiance isn't admiration, it's anointing. You are learning to walk through rooms of envy without absorbing their energy. You've discovered that peace is stronger than defense, and kindness disarms more than confrontation. When you respond with grace, jealousy runs out of oxygen. You might wonder why God allows jealous eyes to remain near you. It's because their presence trains you in humility and strength. They are the silent audience to your growth. Every glare becomes a witness to your endurance. Every whisper becomes evidence of your resilience. In truth, jealousy is not your problem. It's their teacher. You just happen to be the lesson. When they see your consistent peace despite their storms, they learn that favor isn't fragile. It's divine. You, chosen one, were never meant to blend into the background. Light cannot hide to make others comfortable. You don't have to dim your glow to keep the peace. Real peace doesn't demand your silence. Imagine the sun apologizing for shining too bright. It never would, because its warmth sustains what its brightness blinds. Likewise, your light heals even those who can't handle its intensity. Some will misunderstand your humility as pride. Others will twist your confidence into arrogance. But heaven knows your heart. God doesn't anoint perfection. He anoints purpose. You were chosen not because you were flawless, but because you were willing. And here's the beauty. What jealousy intends for harm often becomes your confirmation. Every rumor is proof that your influence is real. Every attempt to minimize you exposes how large your presence actually is. Do not waste your breath explaining divine favor to those who are committed to misunderstanding it. Keep moving. Keep glowing. Let them watch. Eventually, your peace will preach louder than their envy. As time passes, some of those jealous eyes will change. The same ones who mocked you will seek your prayers. The ones who doubted you will ask for your wisdom. Because grace doesn't only protect, it transforms. So walk on, even under the glare. Don't hide the fire that heaven lit inside you. Your glow is not arrogance, it's evidence. And though envy may watch closely, it cannot touch what was sealed by God Himself. You are light wrapped in armor. You are grace under scrutiny. You are the proof that divine favor doesn't fade under pressure, it flourishes. Whispers travel faster than truth. You've heard them before, the quiet conversations that start when you leave the room. People wondering, speculating, even inventing stories to explain why things seem to work out for you. They see open doors and call them coincidence. They see blessings and call them luck. But deep down, you know better. These are whispers of miracles. It's strange, isn't it? You don't advertise your favor. You don't brag. You simply live with faith. And somehow, life keeps bending toward you. Things others chase come naturally to you. Not because you're more deserving, but because you're aligned with divine rhythm. That rhythm creates ripples people can't ignore. There's something magnetic about miracles. They draw attention even from those who don't believe in them. People may not understand your journey, but they can't deny the evidence. The light around your life speaks louder than your lips ever could. Once, there was a man named Theo. He lived a simple life, never seeking recognition, but every time he faced what seemed like an ending, something supernatural happened, a sudden breakthrough, a perfect timing, un unexpected helper. Soon people started saying, "He's lucky." What they didn't know was that Theo had a habit. Every morning, before he spoke to the world, he spoke to heaven. His secret wasn't luck, it was loyalty to the unseen. That's how it works for those who are chosen. Your faith writes stories logic can't read. You become living proof that miracles still walk the earth in human form. According to what is revealed in the Gospel of John, chapter 11, verse 40, "Did I not tell you that if you believe, you will see the glory of God?" That's the pattern of your life. Believe first, to see later. You've believed through seasons of silence, and now you're seeing what others called impossible unfold before your eyes. And though some whisper with curiosity or disbelief, their words cannot undo what God has already done. The whispers may echo, "But, miraclo, speak lude." Sometimes, heaven blesses you publicly to answer private prayers. The very things people mocked you for become the areas where you are now most fruitful. It's not revenge, it's revelation. God doesn't humiliate your enemies, He educates them. Through your life, they learn that grace is not for sale and favor is not random. You are walking through doors that once refused to open, not because of influence, but because of obedience. Miracles follow movement, not noise. You kept moving, even when no one was cheering. and heaven rewarded your quiet persistence. Those who whispered before will whisper again, but this time with awe. They will ask, "How did they do it?" And the answer will remain the same. They didn't. God did. You are not just a recipient of miracles, you are a messenger of them. Every breakthrough you experience isn't just for you. It's an announcement to the world that divine favor is still active. Think of your life like a river after rain. The surface glistens, the current grows stronger, and everything downstream is refreshed. That's what happens when heaven flows through you. Others are blessed just by being near. So don't hide your testimony. Miracles aren't meant to be buried in silence. When you share your story, you give others permission to believe again. You remind them that what seems delayed is not denied, and what feels small can still be sacred. You've seen enough to know this truth. Faith doesn't remove difficulty, it reveals divinity. Every obstacle that should have ended you, instead, introduced you to another layer of grace. So let the whispers continue. They're part of the melody of your miracle. You don't need to defend or explain, your life already does. Now, ground this truth with your declaration below. Type, "God did it," in the comments. Let it stand as your public testimony, a short phrase carrying a lifetime of stories. Because when you say those 3 words, you're not boasting, you're witnessing. You're saying, "I saw the impossible happen, and I know where the credit belongs." Your miracles speak for themselves, but your words ignite faith in others. Say it with confidence. Say it with gratitude, because heaven still moves. And your life is living proof. Every time you declare, "God did it," you're planting remembrance into the soil of your story. Those words build altars, moments you can look back on when doubt tries to whisper again. They remind you that miracles weren't luck. They were love. Each blessing carries fingerprints of divine timing. Each escape, proof of unseen mercy. Speaking it keeps faith alive. Not just for you, but for everyone listening. There are seasons when your very life becomes a testimony. You don't have to say much, your existence speaks. Every time you survive, what others said would end you. Heaven writes another verse into your story. And now, your life is beginning to mirror prophetic proof of protection. You've seen the pattern by now. Battles that were supposed to bury you somehow became birthing rooms for your purpose. Disappointments turned into detours that led to destiny. It's not random, it's written. You are walking through the fulfillment of promises made long before you were aware of them. There's something humbling about realizing your survival was predicted by prophecy. You're not just being preserved, you're being demonstrated. God is showing the world what protection looks like in human form. It is written in the book of Habakkuk, chapter 3, verse 19. The sovereign Lord is my strength. He makes my feet like the deer's. He enables me to tread on the heights. That truth has carried you through valleys and storms alike. Each season has been a living illustration of this verse. You've discovered that divine care doesn't mean an easy road, it means a safe arrival. When you look back, you see the footprints of grace. Times you should have fallen but didn't. Times you should have broken but healed instead. That's not resilience alone, that's revelation in motion. You are heaven's reminder that faith still works. Like a mountain deer climbing through jagged cliffs, you were given balance no one could teach. You walked over sharp seasons without losing your footing because heaven adjusted your steps. Even in weakness, you found rhythm. Even in fear, you found lift. That's the essence of divine protection. It doesn't erase danger. It equips you to move through it with supernatural grace. Every miracle in your life is a verse from heaven's book, made visible. Every escape was a line from prophecy, unfolding before your eyes. You've become living evidence that promises are not poetic, they are practical. And as you stand here, listening, you already know this truth deep in your spirit. There is more to your story than struggle. You are entering the chapter of recognition, the season where protection becomes proof. And proof becomes testimony. That's why spaces like this exist, to keep the light alive. To remind every soul still fighting in the dark that they are not forgotten. These words are more than encouragement. They are lifelines thrown across the storm. So when you like this message, it's not just a gesture, it's like striking a match that signals, I'm still here. And I still believe. When you share, it's as if you're handing someone else a torch, whispering, this light kept me alive, let it keep you too. When you subscribe, think of it as stepping into a circle of faith, a place where reminders flow like rain on dry hearts, where every word rebuilds something silent inside you. And if one day you feel led to donate, to pour a little of your light back into this, well, see it not as payment, but as participation. You're like a traveler leaving a lantern for those who'll walk the road after you. In the garden of God's work, generosity is rain. It softens hearts, waters hope, and keeps the message blooming where it's most needed. You are never asked. You are simply invited to take part in the miracle of continuation, because that's what this is, a continuation of every story heaven has been writing through lives like yours. Every moment of listening, every word that reaches another weary heart, is proof that light still travels. And isn't that beautiful? That something as small as a click, a share, or a kind act can ripple into eternity. You become part of the same grace that once rescued you. So breathe. Feel that quiet warmth in your chest. That's gratitude, rising from your soul. You are not pressured. You are participating in a flow of love that began long before this moment. Maybe that's what divine protection truly means. Not only that you're covered, but that you're now carrying cover for others. Every time you share, give, or simply listen, you extend that same shield outward. The world doesn't need perfect heroes. It needs steady lights. And you are one of them. You are the continuation of mercy, the echo of grace, the living testimony that faith still builds bridges over impossible waters. So let your heart guide your actions. If it whispers to like, share, or support, follow that whisper with joy. Because in doing so, you aren't following obligation, you're following light. And when light flows, darkness loses territory. You've lived the prophecy, walked through the proof, and now you stand as the evidence. Heaven smiles when one who was once rescued becomes a rescuer. That's what you're doing quietly, beautifully, freely. You don't even know how many battles have been fought for you, how many unseen wars have ended before they ever reached your doorstep. You only saw calm days, peaceful mornings, and quiet nights, but heaven saw warfare raging in the unseen. This is the battle you never fought. If you could glimpse even one moment behind the veil, you would weep not out of fear, but out of gratitude. For every trap that was prepared, an angel was already stationed. For every curse whispered, a counter-blessing was declared. What looked like coincidence was actually divine intervention. executed in silence. There was a man named Jalen who always wondered why he survived the impossible. He had walked away from a car crash without a scratch, recovered from an illness that baffled doctors, and escaped financial ruin multiple times. He often said, "I don't know how I keep getting out of these things." One night in prayer, he saw a vision, a field of fire, and himself standing untouched, while figures of light fought on every side. The message was clear: he was never alone in any battle. That vision isn't only his, it's yours too. Your peace has a price that heaven already paid. Every breath you take without fear is the result of a fight that you didn't even know was happening. As written in the book of Micah, chapter 7, verse 8, "Though I have fallen, I will rise. Though I sit in darkness, the Lord will be my light." Those words define you. You've fallen before. Yes, but you never stayed down. Not because of luck, not because of chance, but because divine hands lifted you up before darkness could finish its work. Every time you stumbled, grace caught you mid-fall. Every time you cried, angels gathered the tears as evidence of endurance. You've walked through battlefields unaware. Conversations were redirected before they could harm you. Plans of deceit dissolved before they could take root. Enemies grew tired of pursuing what they couldn't penetrate. The protection on your life is not passive, it's strategic. Sometimes God lets you feel the edges of conflict so you can appreciate the depth of His defense. You may feel tension, confusion, or delay, but those are only tremors of wars that never reached your heart. Heaven does not announce its victories, it simply secures them. That's why you sleep through nights that could have been nightmares. That's why you wake with peace that doesn't make sense. It's because someone stayed awake while you rested. Think of a child asleep in the back seat of a moving car. The road is long, the night dark, but the driver never takes their eyes off the way ahead. That's how God watches over you. The journey may twist, but your destination remains protected. And even when you sense conflict, spiritual heaviness, strange opposition, it's not always a sign of weakness. Sometimes it's proof that heaven is still fighting for your name. The noise around you is often the sound of chains breaking elsewhere. You've been preserved through storms that would have shattered others. It's not because you're stronger, it's because your assignment demanded preservation. God doesn't invest protection where there is no purpose. The heavier the calling, the thicker the covering. There have been nights when you couldn't explain the sudden peace that settled over you. That peace was not random. It was the sound of victory echoing from realms you couldn't see. And here's the humbling truth. You've won more battles in silence than you ever have in struggle. Because sometimes standing still is warfare. Your refusal to quit is its own victory cry. There's beauty in not needing to fight for everything. The mature soul learns to let heaven handle what human hands cannot. You've stepped into that wisdom, the quiet knowing that surrender is not defeat, but strategy. The battles you never fought are not forgotten. They are recorded. One day, perhaps in eternity, you'll see the moments you were surrounded and didn't even know it. You'll see how grace built invisible walls, how angels redirected arrows, how mercy moved mountains in the dark. Until then, all you need to know is this: you are protected because your purpose isn't finished. Every unseen victory points to a destiny still unfolding. You are here because heaven needed you alive, aware, and ready. So walk with calm confidence. The wars that never reached you are proof that you are not just surviving, you are being strategically preserved for what's next. The unseen doesn't need applause. It only needs your trust. For as long as heaven has work to do through you, no shadow can claim what light still guards. You have already won more than you know. You've noticed it, haven't you? How the same people who once questioned your faith now pause before speaking your name. The ones who laughed at your prayers now whisper about your peace. The curious have become cautious, and the doubters have turned into quiet believers. This is the season when questions turn into reverence. It always begins with confusion. They saw your suffering, your silence, your long waits, and they mistook it for weakness. They thought you had given up, not realizing you were waiting on divine timing. But now, the evidence is undeniable. What they once mocked, they now marvel at. When heaven decides to make an example out of you, it doesn't do so to humiliate your enemies. It does it to educate them. You are the living classroom where others learn how faith actually works. It was proclaimed in the book of Haggai, chapter 2, verse 9, "The glory of this present house will be greater than the glory of the former, says the Lord Almighty." That verse isn't abstract, it's personal. It means the next chapter of your life will outshine the one that broke you. You are about to become proof that restoration is always more radiant than ruin. Those who once pitied you will soon look at you with awe, not because you sought revenge, but because you chose resilience. Not because you shouted louder, but because you stood still and let grace speak for you. People don't revere your survival, they revere the source behind it. You've made them curious about the God who lifted you. Your peace has become an invitation to faith for those who never believed in miracles. There was a woman named Nara who experienced this transformation. For years, she faced betrayal and loss. Neighbors whispered that she must have done something wrong to suffer so much, but she kept showing kindness, kept praying, kept smiling through pain. When her breakthrough came a business she started in a season of lack, suddenly prospered the same. Neighbors began asking for her prayers. Her story didn't just change her life, it changed their faith. That's what divine reverence does. It turns spectators into seekers. And now, you are walking into that same anointing. You no longer need to defend yourself or prove your worth. Heaven has already done the explaining. The evidence stands in your glow, your calm, your renewed strength. When favor settles, it speaks without words. People begin to sense holiness, even if they can't name it. They feel peace when you enter a room, warmth when you speak, conviction when you stay silent. You are no longer merely known, you are recognized. Don't be surprised if people who once dismissed you start reaching out again. Some will come with questions, others will come with quiet apologies. You don't have to respond with pride, respond with grace. For the same mercy that raised you can now flow through you. It's a beautiful irony. The very story that caused you shame is now your sermon. Every tear was a seed. And now, harvest has come. So when people ask, "How did you make it?" just smile. Tell them you didn't climb out, you were carried out. That's reverence. When hearts bow not before your strength, but before the power that sustained it, you have become a walking altar, a breathing testament. Your endurance preaches louder than sermons. Your restoration teaches what textbooks never could. That faith, when tested, always returns with glory. Now, if this word touches something deep inside you, Seal it in the comments below with the number 444. That number carries meaning. It symbolizes divine foundation, stability, and truth established by heaven. When you type 444, you're saying, "My story now stands as proof. I am built on faith, and nothing can shake me." It's more than digits, it's declaration. Every time you write it, you're aligning yourself with what heaven already decided, that your later will indeed be greater. And as you step into this chapter, remember, reverence isn't about fame. It's about reflection. You reflect the one who brought you through. And in that reflection, others will find their faith again. You are the answered question, the living proof, the quiet revelation that glory always follows grief. You are not just a survivor, you are a signpost. Wherever you go, your life points upward, reminding others that faith is not fantasy, it is structure. It is foundation. It is truth that stands. When you walk, heaven confirms its promises through your footsteps. Every glance toward you becomes a quiet sermon that says, God restores. God remembers. God still moves. That is reverence born from revelation. You may not realize it, but every step you take now carries the weight of wonder. People don't just see you, they study you. They sense something sacred in your silence. A presence that moves with you wherever you go. You've become walking evidence of the supernatural. You didn't ask for this role. It came naturally, forged in the fires of pain and the rivers of patience. You lived through things that could have ended you. And yet here you stand, unbitter, unbroken, and unexplainably peaceful. That alone is proof of something greater than flesh and effort. When heaven writes through your life, it doesn't use ink, it uses experience. Every scar becomes a sentence, every trial a paragraph, every victory a headline. Your story reads like scripture in motion, a living testament that miracles didn't stop in ancient times. They simply moved into modern hearts. Those around you might not understand it. Some will think it's coincidence. Others will call it charisma. But the truth is simpler and deeper. You are walking in divine rhythm. Every detail of your journey has been synchronized with heaven's timing. As written in the first letter of Peter, chapter 2, verse 9, you are a chosen people, a royal priesthood, a holy nation, God's special possession. End of quote. That is your identity, not by status, but by spirit. You are chosen not to boast, but to bear witness. You walk through the world as living proof that God still marks lives with meaning. Think about it. How many times have you entered a room and shifted its atmosphere without saying a word? How many times have people found peace simply by standing beside you? That isn't personality, it's presence. The presence that walks with you, speaks through you, and guards what concerns you. There was a man named Leo, a gentle soul who never sought attention. Yet everywhere he went, people seemed calmer. Strangers would confide in him. Children would smile without knowing why. And even the bitter found comfort in his company. One day, someone asked him his secret. He simply said, "I carry peace." That peace wasn't natural, it was supernatural. You, too, carry that same unseen peace. It's not something you perform, it's something you host. The supernatural isn't always thunder and lightning. Sometimes it's the whisper that turns chaos into clarity, or the calm that arrives before miracles unfold. There was a time when you thought your survival was ordinary, but now, when you look back, you see divine fingerprints everywhere, the timing too perfect, the coincidences too consistent. You've learned to stop calling it luck and start calling it what it is: divine orchestration. Supernatural evidence doesn't always show in dramatic displays. Sometimes it's quiet strength that refuses to crumble. Sometimes it's healing that happens slowly but fully. Sometimes it's favor that finds you after rejection. You live these small, steady miracles every day. It's easy to overlook what becomes familiar, but pause for a moment and reflect. You shouldn't have made it this far. Statistically, emotionally, logically, it didn't make sense. Yet here you are, breathing proof that grace overrules logic. And it's not just about you. The supernatural in your life becomes the seed of faith in someone else's. When others witness your peace amid pain, your joy amid lack, your kindness amid chaos, they begin to wonder. They start to believe again. That's how God spreads faith, through living examples, not distant theories. Every breath you take now is borrowed light. You shine without realizing it. You heal others just by staying hopeful. You make faith look possible again. It's not pride, it's purpose. You're not showing off a miracle. You are the miracle. You are the continuation of every divine act recorded before you. The same Spirit that parted seas and raised prophets is the one sustaining your strength today. There's a kind of beauty that suffering produces, the beauty of knowing what power feels like when everything else has failed. You've touched that power. You've seen how invisible hands rearrange the visible world. And now, that awareness has become part of you. You don't need to prove the supernatural. You embody it. Every laugh after heartbreak, every sunrise after sleepless nights, every forgiveness after betrayal, all of it points upward. You are not chasing signs and wonders. You are walking as one, and as you continue forward, your life will keep unfolding like a psalm, verses of endurance, refrains of gratitude, melodies of grace. So walk gently but boldly. The supernatural isn't a show, it's a way of being. It's how light behaves in human form. And that's you, now, walking light, breathing proof. Silent evidence that heaven still touches earth through chosen vessels. You are one of them. You are one of the chosen. And your every step still speaks. Have you ever noticed how the atmosphere shifts when you enter a place? Conversations change. Tension softens. The energy in the room seems to recalibrate. As if something unseen has arrived with you. That isn't imagination, it's spiritual reality. Wherever you go, the shift in the atmosphere follows. You carry something beyond personality or charisma. It's not the power of persuasion, it's the presence of peace. Heaven moves with you, and creation recognizes it, even when people don't. The air itself seems to breathe differently when grace walks in, wearing human form. You weren't always aware of it. There was a time you doubted your influence, assuming you were invisible, that your efforts disappeared into silence. But with every battle you've survived, with every wound that turned into wisdom, something inside you began to awaken. Your spirit expanded. Your presence deepened. And now, even without speaking, you impact environments. This is what happens when you've been through enough storms to know who commands the wind. You carry calm where there was once confusion. You walk in with faith so tangible it steadies the fearful. It's not pride, its power made gentle. As written in the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 33, verse 27, the eternal God is your refuge, and underneath are the everlasting arms. Those words describe you now. You've become a walking refuge for others. People may not articulate it, but they feel safer near you. It's as if your presence reminds their souls that God still holds everything together. The shift you bring isn't noisy or dramatic. It's subtle, like dawn replacing night. The change is slow but undeniable. In your stillness, rooms begin to breathe again. Anxiety loses its grip. Arguments fade into reflection. You bring divine order simply by being present. There was a young teacher named Erin. She often wondered why her students behaved differently around her. They laughed less loudly, spoke more softly, and seemed to find focus they never had before. One day, a colleague said, "When you walk into the room, it feels lighter." That's when Erin realized she wasn't changing behavior, she was changing atmosphere. That's you too. You are a living thermostat in a world full of thermometers. While others only reflect their surroundings, you reset the temperature. You decide whether the air will feel tense or peaceful, frantic or faithful. And you do it without effort because you've become one with peace itself. What you carry isn't magic, it's maturity. You've been through too much to waste energy on chaos. You now value peace the way others value success. You've learned that peace is not the absence of conflict, it's the authority to stay centered within it. People who carry storms sense something different about you. Their anxiety quiets near your calm. Their bitterness begins to thaw. Even their unspoken pain starts surfacing not to hurt you, but to heal through proximity. Your presence draws truth out of hiding, and yet, this shift can be misunderstood. Some may distance themselves without knowing why. Light reveals, and not everyone enjoys seeing what has been concealed. But you don't need to force acceptance. You were never meant to blend in. You are atmosphere in motion, not a background figure. The gift you carry cannot be measured in applause or numbers. It's measured in moments when someone takes a deeper breath because you entered the room, when tension dissolves without words, when heaviness lifts quietly after your presence. You are proof that peace is contagious. The same divine stillness that steadied you through chaos now flows outward, touching everyone within reach. You are a bridge between heaven's calm and earth's noise. It's not an assignment you asked for, but it's one you were designed for. Every trial you endured prepared your spirit to hold this kind of weight. Brokenness built capacity. Silence built depth. Surrender built power. So, when environments shift, don't question it, acknowledge it. You are witnessing divine resonance. Heaven echoes through your spirit, aligning what's disordered, softening what's hardened, healing what's hidden. Imagine the way wind moves through trees. The branches don't resist, they simply sway with the flow. That's how your presence operates. You don't force change, you allow it. You become a vessel through which balance returns. And wherever balance returns, healing follows. Your life is no longer just a journey, it's a climate. You carry weather patterns of grace, storms of awakening, gentle rains of mercy. You are both thunder and silence, both reminder and restoration. So, walk with quiet awareness. Every step you take leaves fragrance, not footprint. Every word you speak becomes alignment, not argument. You are not trying to change rooms, You are reintroducing them to peace. That's the real shift, the silent revolution of the chosen. You don't impose it, transformation. You embody it. You are not forcing faith, you're radiating it. And the world, without realizing it, begins to change around you. Because wherever you go, heaven breathes easier. There are moments in life when vindication doesn't arrive through words, but through wonder. When those who doubted you have no choice but to watch grace crown you in plain sight. This is being crowned before the critics. You've endured seasons where silence was your only defense. You let misunderstanding do its damage because you trusted that time and truth would speak louder. And now, they are speaking, not with noise, but with undeniable evidence. Elevation has begun, not the kind that demands attention, but the kind that quietly reveals who you really were all along. The light that was hidden beneath hurt is now breaking through, and those who once laughed now lower their gaze. Not because you sought revenge, but because heaven wrote vindication into your destiny. It's a holy reversal. The same eyes that look down on you must now look up to see where grace has placed you. And yet, you carry no bitterness, only gratitude. Because you understand now, rejection was never meant to destroy you, it was meant to distinguish you. As written in the book of James, chapter 1, verse 12, "Blessed is the one who perseveres under trial, because when he has stood the test, he will receive the crown of life that the Lord has promised to those who love him." That's the moment you're in now, the crowning, not of gold or status, but of recognition. Heaven's seal of honor rests upon the ones who endured without losing love. You've become an example of patience rewarded. Your rise is not about fame, it's about fulfillment. The promises whispered in your wilderness are now unfolding before your witnesses. There's a story of a woman named Celine who was falsely accused by her peers. They mocked her, spread rumors, and left her standing alone. But she refused to retaliate. Years later, every person who betrayed her found themselves needing the wisdom she had cultivated in solitude. She didn't gloat, she simply helped. And in that humility, she wore her invisible crown with dignity. That's what divine promotion looks like. It doesn't roar, it radiates. It doesn't humiliate, it heals. And now, this same grace is visiting you. Life is beginning to return, everything that loss once stole, but in better form, in divine timing, with sacred purpose. The same rooms that once shut their doors will soon open, not because you begged, but because heaven unlocked them. You are stepping into a season where your name will travel farther than your effort. Favor will become your fragrance. And yet, you will walk lightly, humbly, because you remember the weight of waiting. This is where the message becomes more than words. It becomes movement. When you like this message, it's not about digital approval. Think of it as placing a petal on an altar, saying, "I recognize this truth." Every click becomes a quiet prayer of gratitude for battles already won. When you share, it's like planting seeds in someone else's barren field. You're passing forward the hope that once held you together. Somewhere, someone needs your echo of light more than you realize. When you subscribe, you aren't joining a list, you're joining a rhythm. It's a way of staying within the sound of faith, where each message becomes a gentle tide that keeps pulling your spirit toward peace. And if you ever feel led to donate, let it never be out of pressure. Picture it as pouring oil into a lamp, not to pay for light, but to keep it burning for others. Each drop sustains warmth in places your feet may never walk. And if this message stirred something deep inside you, leave a few words or even a single symbol in the comments below. Think of it as carving your amen into eternity. A soft echo that whispers, "I receive this peace." No demand. No pressure, only your heart responding in its own rhythm. That's how divine cycles continue. Love received becomes love released. What you've gained in secret becomes guidance for another soul in silence. You've learned by now that giving isn't losing, it's echoing. Every act of kindness multiplies. Every gesture of faith expands. You are part of that expansion now, keeping heaven's message moving, one small light at a time. So, walk in your new crown quietly, humbly, beautifully. The same ones who once doubted will see and know this glow could only come from God. And when they ask how you did it, you'll smile softly and say, "I didn't. I was carried." End of. Because the true crown isn't placed on your head, it's placed in your heart. And it shines brightest when gratitude becomes your response. Light and darkness cannot share the same space. When one arrives, the other must retreat. You have become that living paradox, light in motion. Truth embodied. Clarity, walking through confusion. This is the moment when your light exposes darkness. You didn't ask for it. You never set out to reveal hidden things or stir conviction in others. But that's what light does, it reveals, whether it intends to or not. And when heaven's glow rests on someone, even silence becomes revelation. At first, you may have misunderstood why certain people withdrew, why relationships faded without explanation, or why tension filled rooms that used to feel familiar. It wasn't rejection, it was reflection. Your presence became a mirror too honest for those still hiding behind illusion. That's the cost of carrying light. It will make you radiant, but it will also make you noticeable. Shadows scatter not because of who you are, but because of what you carry. You've become illumination personified, a walking declaration that truth still shines. As written in the Gospel of John, chapter 1, verse 5, "The light shines in the darkness, and the darkness has not overcome it." That isn't just a verse, it's the story of your life. You've endured dark seasons meant to bury you, but each time, you emerged brighter. You faced rejection that should have dimmed your faith, yet your hope only grew stronger. You are the proof that darkness doesn't win. It only reveals how unstoppable light can be. There was once a man named Aaron who worked quietly in an environment heavy with deceit. He never preached, never argued, but his integrity unsettled those around him. Secrets began surfacing, and those who thrived on manipulation grew restless. Eventually, truth came to light, not through confrontation, but through his calm consistency. When the storm settled, even his opposers admitted something about him made it impossible to lie. Oh, that's what divine light does. It doesn't attack, it transforms. It exposes without humiliation, convicts without cruelty. It reveals truth gently, so healing can follow. You've probably noticed it in your own way. The people who once spoke carelessly now measure their words around you. Those who lived comfortably in pretense become uneasy under your gaze, not because you judge them, but because your authenticity leaves no room for masks. Light challenges darkness, Simply by existing, it doesn't debate with it, it disarms it. That's your gift. You change things without forcing them. You carry conviction without confrontation. This is why your journey has been so intense. To carry such light, you first had to face your own shadows. You had to endure dark nights of the soul, where the only glow came from your tears. You learned that purity isn't perfection, it's perseverance. To stay gentle in a world of hardness is the greatest act of strength. Now, your light reaches beyond words. It touches spaces you'll never see. A message you spoke once continues to echo in hearts you've never met. A small act of kindness you barely remember keeps inspiring someone to choose goodness. Light travels long after you leave the room. But don't be surprised if this radiance also attracts resistance. Not everyone welcomes exposure. Some will misinterpret your sincerity as superiority, your boundaries as arrogance, but you've learned not to dim yourself for comfort. Light doesn't shrink, it simply shines where it's needed. You were chosen for this illumination. Darkness has had its turn, but now heaven is using you as its instrument of clarity. When you enter a space, lies lose their power. When you speak truth, confusion loses its voice. You may not see the impact immediately, but heaven sees it ripple outward. The world doesn't change through arguments, it changes through presence, through people like you, who refuse to let bitterness corrupt their brilliance. Your light isn't about performance, it's about purity. You keep shining not because you're trying to be seen, but because you can't help reflecting what saved you. And here's the sacred paradox. The brighter your light becomes, the more you expose your own vulnerability. But that's the beauty of divine radiance. It shines through cracks, not around them. Your honesty is your halo. Your openness is your offering. When light exposes darkness, it doesn't destroy it, transforms. And though you'll never know how many hearts are changing because of you, heaven keeps record. So walk forward, unashamed of your glow. It was never arrogance to shine, it was obedience. Your light isn't for display, it's for deliverance. And one day, when you look back, you'll see that every place once heavy with shadows now holds the faint fragrance of your presence. Because wherever light walks, darkness learns how to leave. You've often wondered why you were kept, why storms that swallowed others seemed to pause at your doorstep, why danger missed you by inches, why divine protection followed you so persistently. But now, revelation unfolds. Your preservation was never random. It was purpose. You have reached the revelation of why you're kept for so long. You survived seasons that didn't make sense. You outlasted losses that left others bitter. You endured silences that could have broken your faith. You didn't realize that all of it was training, preparation for an assignment that demanded endurance, not explanation. Every delay was divine disguise. Every disappointment carried direction. And now, as you look back, what once felt like confusion forms a clear pattern. Heaven has been weaving your steps into a story only destiny could write. You were never just being protected, you were being positioned. When storms couldn't find you, when destruction passed you by, it wasn't luck, it was orchestration. Heaven needed you alive, alert, and aware for what's coming next. The Word of God declares in the book of Romans, chapter 8, verse 18, "The sufferings of this present time are not worth comparing with the glory that will be revealed in us." And That single sentence holds the key to every unanswered question. You were kept not because you were perfect, but because your story carries glory yet to be revealed. The preservation was not favoritism, it was investment. There's a kind of calling that requires survival. God doesn't keep people without purpose. If you're still here, it's because something sacred still depends on your voice, your hands, your presence. You are the bridge between what was and what will be. There was a man named Ammon who always felt out of place. Opportunities would appear and disappear. Relationships would end abruptly. And just when he thought stability had arrived, something shifted. He began to ask, why can't I just have a normal life? One night, during prayer, he heard a whisper, because you were not built for ordinary roads. The next morning, an unexpected door opened, one that would allow him to help thousands of people. In that moment, everything made sense. Preservation had purpose. That is the same revelation resting over you now. The weight of your survival has meaning. The strength you gained through endurance is not just for yourself, it's for others who are still learning to stand. When God keeps someone, it's rarely for comfort. It's for calling. He shelters you from storms, not to make life easier, but to prepare you to lead others through theirs. You are being raised into refuge, the kind of person whose very presence becomes a safe place. Your life is no longer just your own. Every lesson, every wound, every victory now serves as a blueprint for someone else's deliverance. You are proof that protection is not passive, it's purposeful. And sometimes, that purpose requires seasons of solitude. God hid you when visibility could have destroyed you. He slowed your journey so your roots could grow deep. The preservation you once misunderstood as delay was actually divine pacing. There's a sacred rhythm in heaven's timing. You were being seasoned quietly while the world moved loudly. Now, when your moment arrives, you'll move with depth, not haste with authority, not anxiety. You've been wondering why the attacks didn't stop you, why certain opportunities passed you by, why some doors stayed closed despite your faith. Now you see it wasn't denial, it was design. God was shaping your heart to carry what others dropped. And now, your purpose calls louder than ever. It calls not from outside, but from within the steady pulse of destiny, saying, this is why you were kept. Your protection wasn't just about survival, it was about stewardship. What you've been given, the faith, the clarity, the endurance is not for display, but for distribution. You are a keeper of what you've been taught, a carrier of light for the next generation of chosen ones who don't yet know how to stand. The revelation is simple but holy. You are not merely the result of grace, you are its instrument. What was meant to harm you became the harvest. Every scar is now sacred evidence that nothing can cancel divine intent. You were kept because you are needed. The world still requires your light, your lessons, your unwavering presence. You survived not to escape darkness, but to become its contrast, to prove that hope still breathes, that faith still works, and that love still wins. So, walk forward, no longer asking, why me? But whispering, thank you. Because what once confused you has now been clarified. Your life is the revelation, and your survival is the message. You were kept for this moment, and heaven is not finished writing through you yet. You've reached the final word. Yet something in your spirit knows this isn't an ending. It's a beginning. You've walked through revelation, through fire, through light and stillness. You've seen what it means to be chosen, protected, and preserved. Now, this message belongs not just to you, it belongs to everyone, still waiting for hope to find them. When you like this message, it isn't about algorithms or numbers. It's like pressing your hand to a wall and leaving warmth for whoever touches it next. A simple gesture, but one that carries power. It says, "This light reached me." Lem, when you share, imagine tossing a lantern across the darkness. You'll never know whose night it might illuminate. But heaven does. You become part of someone else's awakening, part of another soul's reminder that they too are kept and called. When you subscribe, you're not joining a list, you're anchoring yourself to a current of faith. Each word that flows from here is another wave carrying strength, clarity, and calm straight to your heart. And if your heart feels moved to donate, see it not as giving away, but planting continuation. Like a tree that shades strangers you'll never meet. Your offering keeps this light alive for the weary, the searching, the unseen. Nothing given in love ever leaves your life empty. Finally, if something inside you whispers agreement, leave a few words or even just a symbol in the comments. It's your signature in the story, your echo in the chorus that says, "I'm still standing." And because you are, you're still here, still chosen, still shining, and the world, though it doesn't know it yet, is brighter because you are